lot of hair. And that's all mine, yes. We'll come back to that shot.
Get some official photos in that.
Oh,
that's it, it's a good hat. You'll take the photos now. There it is.
Hey.
Right. Right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a fantastic night with the wonderful Ken Foree. On this wonderful night, we also have in supporting casting role, Caroline Monroe. Ken come all the way from America today to be with us, and it's much appreciated by Stuart and the Misty Moon, and thank you, Stuart, for putting it all on once again.
Thank you.
Till Tuesday.
Till Tuesday.
Tuesday.
So, flying, visit, in and out.
Yes. Have bag will travel.
Best way to be. Right, what we're going to do, we've got some questions and answers that we're going to do.
That's good.
And then after that we'll be doing some signings, won't we?
Yeah, we will be.
And we'll talk about that game at the end. And then after you've all come up and met Ken and spent all your money, then we'll put the film on. So
And what films are going to be?
and what films? Dawn of the Dead.
Shaun of the Dead?
No,
Texas Chainsaw.
Shaun! What's Shaun of the Dead?
Right,
Keenan and Kel. Can you watch Keenan
Keep it in the cow. Absolutely.
I bet you grew up with that.
Of course,
You
as well as all the others. Dawn of the Dead.
Yes.
so what I want to know, first of all, when you were born and grew up in Indianapolis, Indiana,
Oh my, yes.
was there any sheriffs that looked like me?
And you, but the hair was not quite the same.
It was a bit shorter.
Yeah, shorter, much shorter.
We gone
But this, absolutely. You look great.
Okay, well, I've done this.
You're a true Hoosier.
Yeah, this is it. It's brilliant. So, that's good. That's good to know. So, have you still got your blue Cadillac?
Oh no, that Cadillac doesn't stop. It doesn't have brakes. So we were almost having to put our foot out to stop the damn thing. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I bet you like that.
And with Michael Berryman behind me screaming, he didn't stop.
Was that because he was in a car? Was that because he was in another car and you just didn't stop eating?
No. He's in the back seat, and the
Sure,
chicken
they all
thing.
know
They know about the scene, right?
Yeah.
We're talking. Do you know what we're talking about here?
Michael Berryman.
Devil's Rejects. Yeah. Well, Michael didn't stop talking until the next day. So, you know, and he's still in the scene, still in the character the next day. You know. Shut up, Michael, please.
Sorry, Michael.
That was it.
Yeah,
that was it.
Yeah.
Michael's all the
This is a
same.
wig. I am Michael Berryman.
Yeah.
This is your life. So, I believe you have a passion for motorbikes.
Yeah, I do. I do. I love bikes, and I have for many years. Had a few.
What's your favourite one at the moment?
Oh, Harley, of course, but BMW, if I'm here. Right. Suzuki, Japanese, I have one of those.
Right.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
No Indians?
No Indians, I wish I had an Indian.
Yeah.
Oh boy, who doesn't want to have an Indian? Come on.
I've shot a few.
Not a curry.
Just a bike.
Oh,
Just a motorcycle. Yes.
Right.
Very prized. Thank you.
Yeah, very expensive.
Very expensive now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
They're not relics, but what are they called? Classics.
classics, yeah.
Classics.
Vintage. So, yeah, they're that old now, they're vintage, I would say. Right, so let's see if anyone else has got any interesting questions, shall we? Anyone got a question for Ken?
Please.
Yeah, okay, I can just go on.
Well, you know, a pretty sort of full-on question, but I was just wondering, you know, being a black actor and a protagonist in a Romero movie, what you thought about sort of George distancing himself from you know, the Night of the Dead, sort of saying that it was an accident in terms of sort of the theory about it being about racism, etc., etc. If you had any thoughts on that at all?
It's hard to pin George down about that. You know, I've asked him, I've never gotten the answer to that question. I didn't I knew Dwayne Jones, of course, and I think everyone has heard that I knew. I didn't really get the significance of a black character surviving and not being killed in the first 10 minutes of a film.
It was news to me at the time.
Yeah, well, you know, 10 years ago, people started coming, black people were coming up to me in different areas, and if I was in a airport or a shopping mall or something like that, and they say, "Oh, we love you. Oh my God, yeah, you survived." Yeah. What does that really mean? And it took a while for me to understand that they really hadn't seen many black characters survive, or the one the hero that made it through the film and didn't get shot and that kind of thing, and made it through for after the first 10 minutes. So it was a big issue for African Americans, and I've learned to appreciate that. But that was that. Yeah.
That was a very strong first question.
Yeah.
Have you got one just as good yet?
Sorry.
Well,
Let's go on to Obama next, okay? I got a lot of stuff on
No one else is going to say anything.
Jeff, what's
well,
your...
kind of related to that, leading on to that, obviously you survived Dawn of the Dead, but there's one of your other films that me personally, really love, where you, I think, weren't quite so lucky until afterwards, which was Texas Chainsaw 3.
Oh, yes.
Because you died in that, you got killed off, and then they decided that you wanted to make you live eventually, so you popped kind of up, even though you clearly were killed. My question is the process of that. What was that like to kind of be involved in?
It was a fun film to shoot. Ari Mahaloff and I splashing around in that pool for 24 hours was a thrill. And he killed me. He put a chainsaw through my head.
Quite obvious.
And yes, and I sunk. And that was the end of me. And they went and tested it in a few audiences in New York and around the country. And the audience said they didn't like me dying. And so they came back to me and said, "We're going to reshoot this." And I said, "What do you mean reshoot it?" And "We're going to reshoot you again." And I said, "Well, I can't live. I just got a chainsaw put through my head. There's no way I'm going to live." I said, No, we're going to have to. The audience doesn't like it. So I said, okay. So we went back. They put a scar here, and I came back alive and well and survived. And Kate Hodge.
Audience.
Oh my! Kate Hodge and I rode off into the sunset for more roadkill in Texas.
It's like a Bobby Ewing moment, isn't it? He's still going strong, eh?
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Thank God. Yeah. Good luck for him. Good luck to him and for him.
Fellow cowboy at the back.
What was it like working with Rob Zombie, the director?
With Rob Zombie as a director, energetic, fun. It's great to be around someone that creative, with that kind of imagination, with the ability to change and to adapt, and still to come out with a great product, something that's really going to thrill you and interest you and excite you. You know, he's something to watch. He really is, and fun. Yeah. You put all that on top of fun and enjoyable to be around.
He's passionate, isn't he?
Very passionate about
whatever he does.
Yeah. And he was great to work with. I appreciate Rob Zombie, and
If you're still in Monday, you should pop over to
I'm
Yellow
considering it. I'm considering it.
Oh, yeah.
We're working on that right now. I was just in Orlando, and he was there, and they had rainstorms. It was Sandy. Yes, because I was in Orlando.
Sandy.
You were
Yes, we were marooned.
She was marooned in Sandy in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And I was in Orlando, and they had rain coming in, so they canceled the appearance. So I was going to go over and see them there, and they were happen instead. So, but yeah, you were marooned in.
Yes, we were.
Oh, how
It
absolutely.
was kind of interesting. We were with Samantha Fox. She is just as anyone met her. She is so sweet. What a wonderful lady and her partner. And we just had a lovely time. We were in this great big hotel, and there were no lights.
Crown Plaza in
No, the
Sheridan.
new one, Sheridan in
Sheridan and
Parsippany.
Pacific.
Great
Yes.
big hotel,
Yes.
and they had no lights.
Yeah.
So we had candles. They had no heat, so it was cold, so we sat in coats. Very little food. We had popcorn, maybe a hot dog for the first few days, but we were there for 5 days. And Sam Fox was amazing. We just had a great time. Jane was there. It was brilliant.
And you miss being here.
We miss being here. Yeah, I miss being here, but I'm here tonight with my lovely friend.
How long were you there?
5 nights.
5 nights
With no
after the
hot
show.
water.
After the show.
After the show.
So the show went
No
on
hot
Friday,
water.
Saturday,
Yeah.
Sunday, and then you were stuck
Yeah.
there 5 extra
No
nights.
news, we knew
Wow.
nothing, all the trees falling, so it was quite strange.
Is a DVD coming out of that night with you and Sam? Big bestseller. Do you know Sam Fox?
Yes.
Oh, right.
Lovely.
I'm a little jealous right
Well, if not, we can make
She
the
sings
DVD.
great voice too, she really sings.
She sings, she was singing.
That's
The only thing you could do was.
Well, she didn't sing, she had a really bad cold
Oh.
actually, on her chest. But no, it was lovely.
Okay. So what did you guys do for entertainment? If we can.
We
take away-
talked and we laughed a lot, we had candles,
Yeah.
and it was just very strange. It was very
I guess it
surreal
is.
and very cold.
So there was actually no electric.
There was nothing, we had no news, that was the strangest thing.
So you didn't know what was
And
coming,
they
what
wanted
was
to,
going,
they
what to
wanted to
do?
evacuate us, but they said, we can evacuate you about 3 hours away. We said, well, that's ridiculous. You know, we're 3 hours away, we need to be near an airport. So it was a very, very surreal thing. But we did have a lovely time, a bit like, I should think, wartime kind of mentality. It was great fun, really.
Different.
Yeah.
Yeah, no televisions, no radio,
No,
no cell phones, nothing, no phones. Nothing to disturb you, you just had to entertain yourselves.
Yeah, we did, and we did,
And you did.
and we did.
We'll leave it at that. I'll leave that all in your minds. Any more quick? You've got another one?
Yeah. I know you had a cameo in the remake of Dawn of the Dead, but what did you think of it as a film, as a comparison to the original, which obviously you were?
I thought it was a tribute to us, you know, and of course it was a remake, supposedly. But they brought back some of the things that we filmed in the first film. They didn't spend much time in the mall, but they did bring back the gun shop. They brought back, I guess, some of the chase scenes, that kind of thing. I thought it was a very interesting, exciting horror film. And I thought it was a tribute to us. I love some of the shots, especially the crane shots. The Hitchcock shots were incredible. The one where I think in the beginning when they come out, the car wrecks, or the fire truck wrecks into a telephone pole, and you have that long shot, the Hitchcock shot from there, and then you have the one where they crowd around the bus and they're leaving the mall, and that shot was just phenomenal. So I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good.
What do you think of changing like the speed of the zombies? Because obviously in Dawn of the Dead they're a lot more slow and cumbersome, but in this one, you know, they could sprint up.
They speed up a bit.
You know, I thought it was exciting. I don't think that you really got a sense for who these people were in their prior life, and if they there wasn't a relationship between this zombie or who they were. What they did is just carnage, and it was very quick. I think for the effect of having the effect for striking fear and just value, it worked. But personally, I prefer slower zombies.
Are we all in agreement with that? Do we all like slow zombies?
Yeah, more menacing, isn't it? More you just don't know.
Yeah,
I love to play as
I always find it amazing.
I so do, with all the stuff.
We can make this happen.
Yeah.
We can make this happen. I want to do this. I want to survive. Want to survive? Want to survive?
Anyway.
Well, we could get married to zombies.
Absolutely.
The zombie wedding.
Zombie
wedding.
Why not?
Everything's happening with zombies anymore. Have you noticed that? Has anyone noticed that?
Yeah.
That they're almost in. I don't know if it's happening here, but in America, there's a mention of zombies in commercials, advertisements, sports shows. There's some mention of zombies. I'm surprised that I can walk by and all of a sudden I'm hearing it from someone or television, radio. Someone's mentioning zombie. So it's just become quite the craze. Walking Dead may have something to do with that, and I just think it's maybe it's zombies time. Maybe the vampires are out and we're in.
Neck and neck, I think.
Settle for that right now.
Is there any other questions?
Yeah.
Paul?
Speaking of Rob Zombie again,
yes.
Halloween, the remake.
Yes.
I know your part was relatively small in it.
Yes.
Did you get a sense on that film that Rob was under a certain amount of pressure remaking a film that a lot of horror fans hold and held very dear at the time? Because he was trying a different approach, certainly with Michael. Did it come across while you were making it that there was pressure on him?
I think any time that you make a film and you have powerful groups behind you, studios or investment individuals, that you have a lot of pressure to get it out in time, to cut the costs, to save days, there are all kinds of, any director's spot is a very pleasant spot to have, but everything comes through you. I mean, if the toilet tissue is not working, if the craft service is not feeding, if the camera is not working, our camera goes down, or if the investors want you to speed it up because you're losing daylight and you're going to have to pay penalties, it all comes through the director's chair. So I think he's under a lot of pressure whenever he shoots a film, and I think anyone that's shooting a budget over $1 million is under a lot of pressure to get it done, quickly, because cost, every second that's spent is it's costing a lot of money. You're paying a lot of people. A lot of people are losing money. The investors are losing money if you have any delays, and certainly they're going to be on top of that. And so that goes directly to the director's chair as well. And so you may want to be a director, and you may look, this is a glamorous job, and I get to tell the actors what to do, and I've directed it. But sitting in that chair is a little difficult because everything comes past you. Everything. So.
What was it like working on the Lords of Salem? Which we're all looking forward to.
I would think that he had a lot of challenges with that too, as well, because there's always a situation where someone doesn't come to work, something breaks down, something doesn't happen. There was one night when there were licenses to shoot on the street that weren't acquired by someone, and so those shots had to be readjusted or not shot, or so there's always something, and I think Lords of Salem had its share. So I think any director, I did Water for Elephants, and
big production,
huge production, and I know that behind closed doors, people were getting their lunch handed to them. That's right. Because, it's just always something. I think there was, I don't know if I should say these kind of, some of this stuff, maybe I'm not, I should know. Never time to frame this. No, right, okay. It's going all over YouTube, right? There was a situation where they wanted to move some people to one location to another, and I know that there was one person who said, "Why the hell do we have to do this?" And I know they fought against it, and I know there were some feelings hurt, and I know there were some people who were reprimanded, and some people that were agreed with. I know it was a big, brouhaha about this move, and I think the people who wanted it to happen, it happened, but I'm sure that it's not all glamour. A lot of it's a lot of As a matter of fact,
politics.
There's
always a lot of politics.
There was a film that came out. What was that film? The Island?
Yeah.
You guys remember this?
Yeah.
The Island?
Yes.
30, 40 million, 50 million, 60, 70 million dollars. Remember this?
Ewan McGregor?
Yeah. Well, that film came out and made practically nothing. And it cost 70, 50, 60 million dollars. And from what I heard, they wiped out the entire floor of offices. Just, you're all gone. You're all fired. So we just lost $60 million. Goodbye. So it's not always fun and games and Hollywood.
It's money men nowadays.
It's a show, and the last word in that is business.
Yeah, money.
Business.
When it should be about art, in fact.
Art.
As it is, it's creative, and it should be about the passion.
It should be, and it was in the old days. It was all about passion.
Well, in the Hammer days, our budgets were minuscule, but every penny went on the screen. We were shooting, I think, for maybe 4 or 5 weeks, and I think the whole of the budget was about £250,000, and that was a fairly substantial budget. Every penny went on screen. The actors were paid pittance,
Of course.
I must say, but everything went on screen. It was for the entertainment. It was for the art, rather than in the producer's pockets. It was for the art. It's a different business. It's a different game now, I think. It really is.
It is. I mean, you have people that still want to. They're in it for the art, and they want to contribute to the art, and they of course have studied all their lives and that followed, as many of you have, film and television and filmmaking or any other fraction of the arts, but. It gets down to the bulk eventually. It gets down to who can afford to pay to have it done. I mean, a lot of people are doing small projects in their basements and their garages and their mother's homes, and for $5,000, $2,000. I mean, I have people come to me all the time for $5,000, $2,000. I've done this film.
Or a low budget.
No, hey, take a look at this, Mr. Foree.
No budget.
Okay, what was your budget? Oh, $2,500. Okay. I'll take a look at it, and you got to appreciate that, and that's I think that's when it,
Well, this is what we were doing here in Halloween. Over Halloween, we had an international film festival, and we had a lot of films sent from the States, New Zealand, and from the UK. And the top 2 films, one of them was on a budget of £50, and there's Jeff. Rogue there, who was the star of that film, and it came second, and it was The Reckoner. And, I've got a copy of that for you, Ken, to take and have a look at. I mean, it's a brilliant film. All ad-libbed, a 12-minute film.
I love that.
Pretty much our budget went on liquid latex and the special effects side of it. Everything else was kind of sourced. And as I say, we didn't have no location, so we just turned up in a woods, public woods, and
with a dog.
With a dog, we had an animal in it as well, and it's pretty much the style. It was very difficult. Don't get me wrong. I always say if there was a documentary about the making of it, it would be very entertaining because it was quite tough to get finished, but we did it, and we were very proud of it. And obviously proud that it did so well in the festival. So.
I mean, that's kind of what it's all about, really. That's how we started, way back.
We also had a lavish film called Brutal, and that went in Michael Stevens, and he spent about $85,000. And Adrian King, who was one of the judges here, she poo-pooed that straight away because it was just because he spent the money on who the composer was and also the lead. So really, if he didn't have the lead as a composer, it would have been about $500.
So, but were the lead and the composer, was that, or did it kind of make sense? You know,
Not
did
really.
it add to it, or
No.
could it have been?
It would
Was
have
the
been better.
production value?
Had it not
Yeah,
been.
it was
Yeah.
just done in the basement.
Yeah.
So he used the
So-
money. Yeah, which was.
You would have had to
No.
have. I think if you've got, surely if you've got a great script, you need good words to be able to say. You need a great DP, a director of photography.
Lighting and sound. Lighting and sound.
Yeah.
The worst thing you can see is the worst thing you see is shadows on the wall,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then and echoes.
Yeah.
It ruins
No,
your
it's
film,
true.
and that's what young
Good words to
filmmakers should
say.
know that.
But that's what we're all about here.
Yeah,
We're
good
all
back,
about-
yes.
Good words.
Good
to
words
say.
to say,
Yeah.
gosh.
I
Yes.
mean, we're here to promote not just film, but artwork. This is from Gilson Larvis, who's a drummer with Jules Holland's band. We've got a lot of artists here, so the film and the art works together, and it's just something unique that's here.
It is unique. It's a very unique venue. I mean, this is obviously why you keep coming back, isn't it? Because it's very special. And I think what they're doing, providing all these, you know, people, talks and interesting things, is very unique in London, I would say. I think it's
And behind the
brilliant.
pub as well.
Yeah.
Right, shall we get another question in? Go on, David.
Well, the video game industry at the moment is very big business, and certain iconic actors have been taken and been digitalised and done voiceovers in certain video games with zombies. Would it be something you might like to do in the long run?
I have had offers. There are some that I'm considering, some that I'm not. You know, I don't know. The video game market is a very different. I would. It's very strange. It's hard to approach this question because I have kind of a tick about this, and I'll tell you why. I'm on a train going to the San Diego Comic-Con, and I have a guy next to me who's supposed to be my webmaster at that time, and he has his computer open, and he's playing Pac-Man. But Pac-Man is Ken Foree. And he's chased by zombies. And so, I'm sitting there and I look over and say, what is this? He said, oh, nothing, just something, some fan, and he posts about me. You know, and I also did San Andreas, you know, and I did a voiceover for that, and I got to talk to some of the people that are involved with it, and I've met other gamers and people who create games. And it's a very interesting market, very lucrative market. I'll see.
And you've got such an amazing voice. So surely for cartoon, maybe even the wonderful cartoons, that you wouldn't mind, would you?
I want you to be
That
my
would be-
agent. Represent me
I shall do it
at this
for-
moment.
For my love.
It's on camera, everyone's heard it here. This is my agent.
Yeah.
I'll be your bodyguard.
I like that.
There you go.
You've got to get past the sheriff. As long as they're not zombies, then I'll be behind you.
That's all right.
Did you have a question, Jonathan, earlier? Or not? I thought earlier on in the games.
I've got a question.
Go on, that gentleman in green.
David.
Do you like films yourself? Do you like horror films, or do you have any favourite films of your own growing up as a child? Is that what made you want to go into acting? You saw films and you thought that looks.
I was always a fan of films. I mean, I spent every Saturday and any other day I could in a theater watching films. You know, it's part of that. Want to hear an interesting story again?
Yeah.
Okay. This is really crazy. My mother's going to kill me. My father used to take my brothers and myself, and I'm the oldest, to the local theater in our neighborhood every Saturday morning. And it was very cheap, and you could buy popcorn and sit there all day. So he dropped us off, and it's usually cowboy films, you know, on Saturday mornings, you know, not every morning, Saturday mornings. So one day he dropped us off, and he didn't pay attention to what was playing, you know, because usually he just dropped us off. We said, cowboy film, come on, you know, we're going to you know. So he dropped us off, and we sat in the balcony, and first row of the balcony, me and my 3 little brothers, and we watched I Am Woman with
Is it with Brigitte?
Brigitte Bardot.
Wow.
So, I don't know if do you know that film, I Am Woman?
Yeah. How old were you?
Young! very, very, very young. Not that young, but young. And my brothers were younger than me. And so we got home, and my mother said, "What did you see, dear?" I said, "I Am Woman." She looked at my father. Ladies, you can imagine the words that came out of my mouth. That her sons have been exposed to Brigitte Bardot laying on the bed with her butt exposed. So that's just, you know, we love movies and we always want to see them. And my favorite, I love The Exorcist. I love the Thing with John Carpenter. Alien, the first one, and the one with what's his name? The black guy with the bald head also. The Alien.
That's Alien 3.
Charles Dutton.
Yeah.
The one with Charles Dutton. I love that one too. There are several. I can go back to some of the Dracula, Bela Lugosi, of course, Boris Karloff, absolutely. You know, some of the greats. Some of the Hammer films. My God, come on. Peter Cushing, my goodness. Christopher Lee. I grew up on those guys. I love them. To this day, if they play one, I'm going to sit there and watch it. I really did like the old Hammer films. So there are quite a few. Night of the Living Dead with Dwayne Jones. Absolutely one of the best ever.
You had a question, sir?
What was it like making Stuart Gordon's From Beyond and filming in Italy? It was an American film, but filmed in Italy.
Yes.
What was it like making that film in Italy, outside of the normal American studios?
It was. I'm sorry.
Sorry, that was it.
It was an interesting time. If you're used to shooting in American studios,
Yeah.
so you know you've got the crews. They come in. They're professional. They know what they're doing. They have all the equipment. They have all the hydraulics that they need and everything. Everything's there. So you know, and I was pretty much used to that before I went to Italy. And when I got there, I just saw how people can be inventive and how they can do things a different way and still get the same shot. You know, instead of hydraulics, they just drop weights in, take weights out, and you got your crane shot. You know, so it was a great time. I just on a personal note, I was just eating pasta maybe twice a month, 3 times a month at the most. And when I got to Italy, everyone had pasta before the meal. And I said, this is a little crazy, but in a week I had to have my pasta before every meal. It didn't take me long to become truly Italian. Yeah, Italy was great. It was great. Great time. Any other questions?
Any other questions? Got this gentleman out the front
Yes,
here in the
sir.
corner.
Hi, I was just wondering about the alternate ending of Dawn of the Dead. Can you remember filming or something about it? One?
You know, that goes around so much. I can't tell you how many people have asked me that question. I can't tell you how many times I've heard different answers as I've listened to other people talk about it. We never shot me committing suicide. Galen, from what I understand, they had a mannequin, and it was the bully mannequin that they had shot the head off of in the beginning of Dawn of the Dead. They had put her head on top of that that what is it, body? Plastic?
Yeah.
Whatever. And they raised it into the helicopter to see what the effect was. That's as much as I know about that. I didn't see anyone shoot anything, or there were no plans actually to have me commit suicide. We talked about it for a minute, and then we said, no, we're going for the cheerier ending. You know, there's hope in the world. Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Second question: what's your favorite pizza?
Huh?
What's your favorite pizza?
My favorite pizza. My favorite pizza. My God. My favorite pizza. I tell you, I had one in months. Well, why not? You're here. We're gonna have a good time. Why not? Any question's fine right now. And I've had half a glass of wine, so
and he said no sleep.
Hey, no sleep. So anything goes, guys. Just shoot it. I'm ready.
And you're going to have bangers and mash.
I'm a bangers and mash right after I leave there too. Favorite pizza was in Munster, outside of Munster, Germany. Believe it or not. And New Yorkers are going to be very upset with me about it. But I don't know where, and this was not in Munster, but about 20 miles outside. They called delivery, they brought it in, and I tell you, the meats and the cheeses were just incredibly fresh and wonderful. I continue to think about that pizza whenever I think, I want to go to Munster. Strangely enough, just to finish this. David Emke and I went to Dusseldorf to do Weekend of Horrors years ago. And I said, David, don't worry, when we get to Germany, great pizza. Great pizza. Hang with me, don't go with them. Come with me to my room, I'm gonna order pizza. We'll sit and talk, I have some wine. So I'm in Dusseldorf, I'm not in Munster, or 20 miles outside of Munster. They bring me a Pizza Hut pizza. That's like cardboard. David looked at me, no, this is not the pizza I was talking about, David. Just eat it and shut up. Yeah, anything else?
Anyone else?
Yes.
Yeah. I'd like to know, what was it like working with Tom Savini, and what do you think of him as an artist?
What was it like working with Tom Savini? Tom Savini did the makeup for Dawn of the Dead, and he did special effects. And I didn't see much. I would see the effects after he finished, or his crew would finish, and I would see some of the stuff he would set up, but I didn't see that much of it because we were kind of separated because he was doing his thing. I would see him when I got there in the morning, he would make me up, and the other cast members up. Then he would make up. He had to make up all the zombies, and he had a small crew to put all the zombie makeup for people. So I wouldn't see him that much. So he's a fine makeup artist. He's one of the, I think, one of the best special effects artists in the country, and you know, in America certainly. I think he and Greg Nicotero John Bleeker, and a few of the others there. Some of the great special effects people right there, and there are others, of course. But Tom's good.
He's very fast.
Yeah.
I worked on Maniac with him, and maybe it was in the early days, you know, he was, when was it, 79?
Maniac? Which Maniac was that?
Our Maniac. It's the original Maniac.
Okay, that's not with Robert Duvall.
No, Joe Spinell. No.
That's Maniac Cop, I'm sorry.
That was Maniac Cop.
Yeah,
we did the Maniac. And so Tom was the makeup man on that, and he was so fast. That's what I was amazed at. I remember I'd done my shots and I was working, they said you can go home now, you finished, we're just going to do the special effects shots. So I sat there and I watched him. I mean, he's a real master, and he's so quick. I was just amazed by what he did. And quite horrified at the end, I must say. When I saw him Maniac, I don't know. But yeah, he's good. He's really good.
He has a school. There's a makeup school in Pittsburgh, and I meet a lot of his students everywhere I go. So he's doing very well. I think it was they have a television program too in the States it's a reality show for people who do horror makeup and that kind of thing. Contestants who try to, we give them a theme. And
Face Off.
What's
It's called
it
Face Off.
Face Off, okay, yeah. So I think he was a judge on that one at one point.
We don't have it over here yet.
We do.
Do we?
We do, yeah.
It's on the
It's just
other
not being advertised everywhere.
Yeah.
It's on the other night on cable.
Yeah, I saw him once on that, I believe, because I think they have other judges, but I think I saw him once on that too. So, somebody, did that answer your question?
Yeah. Thank you.
Can I see a show of hands for the other people who wanted to ask a question?
I've got one little question.
Okay, your one?
Yes,
And we come to the little one.
Ken on the road. What's it like being in a Bond movie?
Rather special, I must say. It was, I've been involved with a lot of other films. I mean, I've done, from the Hammer films, a lot of smaller budget films. And when it came to doing The Spy Who Loved Me, it was different. The whole setup was different. It was kind of like a luxury because you had time. You know, with a smaller budget, I'm sure you'll know, you kind of got to get it right, almost first take. So with this, it was a whole different ball game. And again, it comes from the top man, and the top man, when I was doing The Spy, was Cubby Broccoli. You know, you had Cubby Broccoli, who was, and everything kind of went from him. He made sure everybody was looked after, from the boy that makes the tea to Roger Moore to everybody. And I think that's the kind of thing that makes it special, is that he kind of nurtured everybody. Everybody was as important as Roger Moore, as you know, which I think makes for a great bonding during a film. I mean, it becomes a family. Certainly with Cubby and with Barbara now, with Barbara Broccoli, it's become very much a family affair. And I think they're doing amazingly, especially with the new one, Skyfall.
They often try to make sure they have people who are around them.
Yeah.
And they keep those crews,
They keep the same crew.
same people,
That's
same crew.
right.
They try to work with as many actors as they can
Yes,
that
they do.
that they get
Yes,
along
they
with.
do.
They try to make it comfortable for
Yeah,
them,
they
make sure
do.
they take care of all their needs, but they didn't want to come back and work with them.
That's right.
They get the same quality work
Yeah,
from
they
that
do.
crew every show.
Because they know the crew's going to work with them, they're going to get the best results.
That's right.
And that is the way.
Very
special.
Someone told
Yeah.
me that one of the producers told me that an army travels on its stomach. And so they really do take care of you in terms of feeding you,
Everything.
taking care of all your wishes and that kind of needs.
That
It
is
works.
so important, I think. Same as with Hammer, really. It was the same thing, even though you did it because you wanted to do it. It was something you kind of wanted to do and you were kind of looked after. It was like a family thing. You know, it wasn't about the money. It was about all of you working together to produce this wonderful thing on screen. And that's how it should be.
Oh, why aren't you running a studio now? I want to work for you. Someone, please give this woman a lot of money and let us work together. Please, I'd love to do this. I don't want you to be a zombie. I want you to hit the studio so you can teach them what art is about. Come on. Yeah.
Can we have that?
I've got a question for Caroline.
Yes.
I know you went to art college when you were a teenager, and I've got some of your lovely fashion illustrations.
You don't.
I do. Some of you sold them on eBay. They were like gorgeous.
No, I didn't.
Gorgeous.
I did for charity. Oh, okay.
That's a little different.
It's like the animals, isn't it?
That's right. But they were drawing beautiful sort of fashion illustrations. And
1 minute sketches.
yeah, but they're very detailed and very colourful and a good sort of use of line and colour. And I just want to know if art was still a passion of yours and if you still draw.
It is through my children, both of them are wonderful. Iona, my youngest, who's 18, is an amazing fine artist. I mean, she wants to sing, she's a bit of a rock and roller, but her fine art is superb. She's at St. Martin's. And Jojo, the other one, is 22, and she wants to follow in my footsteps, sadly. Silly girl. But she'd like to play a zombie with you too.
She's going law school.
Play
or
zombie. No, she's studying fashion,
Fashion.
corsetry, fashion, you know, for period costumes and things. So yeah, yeah. But I did used to draw them little princesses when they were children. So you know, yes. Anyway, yeah, no, it still is a passion. What you've got on your head is wonderful.
What about that? Is there something coming across?
Yes, it's beautiful.
Oh, good. Is it lovely camera?
You're going to be our producer. We've got another question for you over there in that corner, Caroline. For Caroline.
Hello again, Caroline. My father managed the sales team for a firm called United Rum Merchants.
Your father? Oh,
yes.
Golly.
And I'm approximately my age, may remember you as the Land's Navy Rum Girl. He actually dreamt up a little slogan that was "Join the Land's Navy" that was underneath your one. I just wonder if you had any recollections of that particular advertising campaign, because I would have thought that actually brought your face to more people than almost anything else.
I tell you what, such happy memories, and in fact it was the James Carreras who used to see the big posters that your father was. Didn't know that, your father, that's amazing. So that's how I got to do got to sign a contract with Hammer Films. So definitely Lambs was instrumental in me getting into the film world, although I'd been doing extra work before. So that certainly helped. That's fascinating.
Did you actually go on a special location for those particular shoots? Because it looked very tropical in the background.
It looked tropical. The first three we did, we did the first two in the winter in Cornwall, and it was freezing, absolutely freezing. And I think I got £30, and that was for the whole campaign. So the first three. Eventually,
they were a generous company.
Oh yes, that was for the year. And then the next one, I think we ventured to Spain. And then eventually, after 12 years, I got to go to Palm Springs. I got to go to California, Palm Springs. So we kind of graduated from there. But I have such a... I was with Tony Hart. Is your dad still around?
No, he's not. His name was Charles Elliott, who was close associate manager of the sales team.
And that was during the Land's Navy. Brilliant slogan. And then it became the spirit of adventure, didn't it? Join the Land's Navy.
Yeah.
And we were... it was dark rum, dark men's sailors' rum, really. And then they thought they'd change it to try a lady, and they tried with a little tattoo on my shoulder of a ship. And that's difficult to say.
I did like the naval uniform.
And then it started. So well done, your dad. It's amazing.
I must just say, I still have got one of those posters on the wall. I've got one with the helicopter. I've got the, got the long skinny one. Yeah, signed by you from around a few years ago. Yeah.
Circa 70s.
Yeah. Is there, yeah, go on.
The Golden Voyage of Sinbad is my favourite film, and I just think it's so stunning. The special effects, the stop motion animation.
Ray Harryhouse.
Ray Harryhouse.
He was, I tell you what, I was with Ray 2 weeks ago. They had the European premiere of his film talking about Ray Harryhausen insofar as being the titan of, and you had Spielberg, you had Joe Dante, you had Tim Burton. There was everybody there for Ray, and it was just an amazing event. And Ray was there. He's what, 93 now, and he got up and he talked. And it was just so special. So working on that.
What was this?
In London?
No, here.
No, this was in London.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he doesn't travel now. Okay. Ray doesn't travel as much.
Do you have to go through a lot of rehearsals with, because you had to work with imaginary
with his stick. Ray had a great big stick, which he used to wield. It was about a 20-foot stick, and that was your eye line. So you just basically follow your eye line, and then you'd see his fabulous drawings, illustrations, and then you'd be off. And you become very kind of childlike and imagine how you used to do when you play, and therefore it would kind of, I don't know, it's interesting when you work, you've done that, haven't you? Work with nothing. I mean, there's nothing there. You just absolutely, just got to go for it.
Imagination and...
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. Yes.
Helps if you see something first.
What did you think after you saw it in the cinema? So, were you amazed at what was achieved?
I thought it was extraordinary when you think we shot it in 73 and it came out in 74, and the achievement was amazing, and he did it single-handedly. It was the stop motion. I mean, it's different today. You've got all those CGI, which is a completely different thing. But we actually just did the Blu-ray together. We sat through it and we did the commentary. So it's coming out this year. It's a beautiful, beautifully shot film, Ted Moore.
Ray Harryhausen's best, I think. Valley of Gwangi, and that I think was the best.
Of course, Jason and the Argonauts was pretty amazing. Yeah, superb.
One of my favorite all-time movies.
Really? Yes.
It really is.
Wasn't
It really is. Oh,
it was. I mean, that stands out today. The fighting.
Oh, and I met him with you. No. We were in Hollywood, Hollywood Boulevard.
Yes.
And you had that, and what's his name came in? I met his wife too. The star of the show.
Jason and the Argonauts.
I'll send that.
John Philip.
John Philip
Law.
John Philip Law.
Yes,
I met his wife was an American filmmaker. And
that's it.
I met her. She talked to me, and then before that.
Yeah, that's right.
I came to see you.
You came to see us at
the
the Egyptian
Egyptian
theatre,
and he was in.
You sat and you laughed all the way through.
I did.
No, I didn't know. Maybe the star crash. You were very sweet. You were very sweet.
I've seen one of my favorite people.
That was very sweet. No, it's lovely that you.
Anyone else at all? Go back to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Just bearing in mind all the questions that you've listened to tonight as an actor that's sort of crossed the divide in terms of 70s horror movies into cameo appearances and remakes. What interests me about horror, beyond the gore and the this and the that, is a sort of social commentary and the deeper stuff behind it. I wondered if you was thinking that, you know, horror is an arena that sometimes can be used to deal with subjects that mainstream cinema won't really touch, and even less so now. I was wondering if you still felt that now that it tries to plough that furrow, or is it sort of given up? And is it all just popcorn movies?
Well, that question is going to take about an hour.
You certainly did.
Thank you very much for that. I guess what it is, huh?
Well, you know.
Well, no. I think that all film has a story to tell. Has a message. Not a message necessarily you want to see pushed in your face or shoved down your throat, but something that they have something they want to say. And I don't know if horror leads that in those categories, or if it's just, you know, something that fortunately George Romero came up with one in his social commentary, a few others. But I don't see that much. I think in horror that has social commentary anymore. There may have been. You know, I mentioned The Exorcist. I mentioned The Thing. I think The Thing was more about the characters involved than it was anything about. Yeah, in isolation, of course. But I think that all films have some message. Most films have some message that they want to get. There is a theme, there is an answer, there is a thought that the writer and the director want to bring to the screen. And to pick out horror as a catalyst for that, or whether they did it in the 70s or the 60s as opposed to doing it in the 90s or to the 2012. I don't really know. I don't see that much today. Where you're going from slasher films, what social commentary is that? We had that for 20 years. Are you going to do with zombie films? I mean, after Romero's films, I mean, what social commentary are you going to make after Land of the Dead? You know, did he have that much in, what were the other two? Diary of the Dead? Or,
Survival.
Yeah, Survival of the Dead. I'm not quite sure if there's that much social commentary in those things. I think horror's been a great success for most filmmakers because it turns a profit, and people love to be frightened, and it's a great date movie. So this if it stands the test of time, you know, I mean, it has legs. And if you want something that's probably going to get a return on your money, then you're going to go to horror. I don't, you know, you're making it, you know, who's making the comment, the commentary? Who's making this? You know, what are they saying?
It's an interesting question in itself, isn't it?
Yeah. Who's you know, whose idea? Do you agree with the social commentary that they're trying to make? You know,
you want to be challenged.
You want to be challenged. You don't want to sit there and be bored. That's for sure. But you want to be challenged, absolutely. And for most people, it's a challenge of you know, entertain me, but make me think.
Yeah.
Don't let me think that I'm thinking. Or don't make me feel that I'm thinking. You know, entertain me, maybe educate me a bit, maybe give me something to think about when I go home, but don't push it down my throat.
Yes.
You know, and that's an important part of filmmaking, no matter what you're making, whether it's horror or situation comedy, you know, for the most part, you know. So I hope it answers.
Cool. Thank you very much.
You had a question, sir?
Yeah, it's one for Caroline. Out of all the Hammer movies, is there one that you think is screaming to be remade? Because I could think of one.
Well, I would not just because I think Captain Cronus, because it was an unfinished business. I so think so, and I saw Brian Clements recently, and he keeps being approached. They keep, you know, so it's in the air, it's in the offing. So we'll see what happens. But I think that's right for it, because that was the whole premise of it, time traveler. So it's possible. I'd like to see that done anyway. Obviously not with me, but I'd like to see it done. Maybe my
I'm sure you could have a cameo.
Yeah, maybe.
And me. I'm being Henry in it or whatever. Just a little there for a day.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, the whole shit. The whole shit.
The whole shit.
The whole
Squash
shit.
your butt.
I'll tell you, because obviously you're a fan of Hammer, I'll tell you one that I think could be remade well. The Devil Rides Out.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That would be really.
The thing that, even though I like it for its time period, the special effects at the end of the big spider and that, do let it down. Even when I saw it the first time round. It's a fantastic film, and I think with a really big budget behind it. I love those movies set in that time period, the 20s, the 30s.
Yeah.
There's not many actual horror films that are set like that, and it'd be great. I would have a haircut to be in the remake. I would. I would. That's, I've got to be honest, I think The Devil Rides Out has got to be one of my top horror films of all time.
Really?
It's just made so well. Besides the wonderful acting in it, the time period, Witchfinder General's another one. Because of the time period. You know, I mean, there's lots of, as you were saying, there's a lot of popcorn sort of horror movies, there's a lot of zombie movies. But it's another zombie movie. It's another zombie movie. But they don't sort of go, well, let's do a 1920s zombie movie, and that'd be interesting. You know, Hudson, where's my dinner? Oh, you know, something like that. You know, he's taking zombie. What's going on? I don't even know how to answer the door, let alone stop a zombie biting me because I'm hot. You know, I say, old chap, don't bite me. Bite my butler or my sofa. You know, that'd be. Yeah, we all love a challenge.
I love that.
You'd be good. You go. Oh, I'll be going. Sort this out, and you'll be going. Hey, I'm off, man.
Sort it out yourself.
Yeah, sort it out yourself.
I'm gone.
Yeah, here's my notice. I'm gone. That'd be great. Yeah. So yeah. I think there's a room for improvement. You know, 40 years later on, definitely some of those Hammer films. That one with Daniel Radcliffe was very good under the new Hammer banner. But yeah, they ought to be sort of maybe Lost Continent on a good budget.
I would say Satanic Rites of Dracula. I think that out of all of them, you could really set that in a contemporary setting. Obviously it was made at that time. But I had this idea that I think you could merge Satanic Rites of Dracula into it, Dracula AD.
D72, yeah. It's like part 1 and 2 anyway, wasn't it?
It was really. Yeah, that was the idea, wasn't it?
And I would have Charles Dance as the new Van Helsing. So I think he'd do a really good job.
Has the right look, doesn't he?
And the age now. Sorry, Charles.
That's good. Let's see if we can talk to someone. Yeah. Well, they'll be making another Hammer movie, won't they?
They definitely will.
Yeah.
An idea start some of the strangest places.
Yeah. So put that bit on.
That's a good one.
It's a good one, yeah.
That is good. Good question. Very good.
Besides our fantasy land, I do like the idea of that. We ought to be in 1920s zombie movie.
Nice costume.
Yeah, just start it all like, oh, Mr. Darcy, do you fancy this? And then all of a sudden there's a zombie man out of my room. He hasn't got an invite. What's going on?
Was he invited to tea?
Oh, Ray Oney, please. Like that. That'd be a good hit. So, if anyone's got the funding, please get in touch.
Always looking for funding.
Yeah. Is there any other questions?
Yeah, just on the subject of remakes, what do you think about all the remakes that are coming out of Hollywood at the moment? So, not just the Halloweens, but like the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, The Fog, The Thing that was remade for like the third time. Is it because Hollywood just has given up?
I don't think they've given up. They found that, it's always a question of funds. Those are franchises. They make money. We as horror film directors, producers, actors, fans, we want to see horror. And if you can bring me a franchise name, I can guarantee you that you're going to get an audience in there jam-packed with all the fans, directors, even the naysayers are going to come to see that franchise. They're going to say, okay, I want to see this. What have they done with this? So you guarantee an audience for at least a week. You're going to guarantee, that's theatrical release, you guaranteed an audience of people who are going to buy the DVD or pay-per-view or view on demand. You're going to make money in horror films. That's why people do that. That's why the major horror film opened theatrically opened every week in the United States anyway, every month, in the United States. So it's because it's a moneymaker. That's why people go into it. I mean, they really, I know people who aren't fans of horror necessarily, who didn't grow up, wanted to be watching horror films, wanted to be involved in horror films, but they find that they can make money easily. The risk is less if they spend $500,000 or $1 million on a horror film to get their money, their investment back. Is that you there? Is that Jay calling me?
Sure it is.
If it's about that horror film, then we've got the idea.
Yes. The answer is yes. He does have a great idea here. All we need is $2 million. We're ready. And everyone here is involved. You understand? We have a director, we have a few producers, we have a writer here. No, it's all right. It's all right. No. And, so I just think that they find that, it's, when the time is right, when there's enough time passed, you've got 10 years since the last remake, or 5 years, 8 years, then they say, well, okay, let's do another one. It's time we can put other actors in, and we can make this one, and we can make some money, and give the fans what they want. Everyone went to see Rob Zombie's Halloween, the first one. Did you not? Yeah. You understand? You didn't stand there and ask, well, this is Rob Zombies and how many Halloweens were there before? And there's Halloween. You didn't ask that question. You said, let's go see what he's done. And for this Nightmare on Elm Street, for Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the new one coming out with the Blu-ray, you will go see that one as well, and that's what they're counting on.
The new one is a sequel to the original.
The original,
not the remake.
exactly.
So maybe, hopefully, if that does well, that will be the next thing coming along.
That's right.
Forget the remakes.
That's right. So
sequels.
in between, you know, making the remakes.
I think reimagining is good.
Yeah.
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 That's a good. So not just copying it.
With Elijah Wood, maybe.
Yeah.
Imagine
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
He's not exactly Joe Spinell, is he?
He's a hobby.
Yeah, you would be very
Oh, hi, honey. You left this piece of jewellery behind. Just invited me for a cup of tea. Yeah, I watched that the other week. Yeah, I did. Yeah. So just as bad as the first time I saw it. It's a lovely place. But where are you inclined, Stuart, that you think Hollywood has got a little bit safe and boring? Is that what you mean with all these remakes?
No, I just wonder also, reimagining is good when it's taking the story but seeing it from a different angle. That's why I liked the Halloween, because it showed why he became what he was as a child. But when it's a blatant remake, when they get psycho, a few years ago, and it was like word for word, and scene for scene, and I didn't understand the reason.
Well, you understand that made its money probably in the first 3 weeks. Made the budget, made it because everyone wanted to see the cycle.
Yeah.
After that, the reaction is the same as you had with everyone else here. They said it's not very good, it's the same thing, there's nothing interesting, there's nothing surprising in it, there's no twist. So, when you have something like that, it's not, but like I said, it's all, sometimes it becomes very financial, sometimes people think they do something different. You get somebody like Rob Zombie, who...
Well, that was good, because it was different, you showed it from a different perspective.
I loved it, and a lot of people didn't. And I didn't understand that. And I said, wait a minute, we're taking a classic, they're now showing where this kid, from childhood, how this kid became a maniac killer, what he did with his family. You're showing him escape, being in mental institutions, escape. You show where he gets his clothing from, being me. So there's a lot of development of this story and a lot of things that you didn't see in previous Halloween. So it made it very interesting. And number two, even though I haven't seen all of it, I've seen bits and pieces of it, it's still his concept and his him being creative in his own way with this story. You know, whether you agree with it or not, it's certainly different. But again, it is a franchise. So when he said Halloween, everyone jumped. That's right. And the studios did too. And every investor that was involved. The Weinsteins were involved. They thought about, it being, Hollywood being running out of ideas. They said, no, can we make money? Yes. How much can we make? What will this do? And studios are run by bankers. Anymore. I mean, there are creative people. There are certainly people who have gone to film schools all their lives, and film schools and have sit in audiences like this and really respect the genre and the art. But there are also people who think of the nuts and bolts and the finances of what they're going to make from it, and what they can do with it, and what they can do with them. That's just part of the business. And you can never, I always try to, when I talk to people, when I talk to young people, and they say, well, I want to be in a business, I want to be an actor. I said, take a business course. Take a business course. I said, because the behind show is business. The next word is business. You have to remember that. That's an important aspect of this. The art is paramount, but secondly, it's business. You should think of that. And that's what happens when these people make all the remakes. They're saying, okay, I need a hit. We'd like to make some money. This is a good deal. It's been how long now? Sounds good to me. That's what I would do.
I think we've got enough time for a couple of quick questions. and then I think we'll move on. So you've got a quick one. I can't let you ask any more questions.
I want to get some more people
It's Caroline. What was it like making Faceless with Jess Franco? Were you aware that he was a bit of an opportunistic sort of director who would film, you know, sort of
unusual
rehearsal
angles.
shots and things like that?
I wasn't aware.
Yeah.
Until a journalist phoned me up and said, I hear you're going to work with Jess Franco. I said, oh yes. And I didn't know Jess's work.
Yeah.
He said, I only tell you this, just be aware of the camera angles. He said, just remember this, repeat, just be aware of the camera angles. Okay, we got to France, to Paris, and we shot. And I found him fascinating to work with. I thought he was a great director. Have you worked with him?
No.
Brilliant director. Really enjoyed working with him. And we had quite, you know, some quite strong scenes within that. We had a wonderful cast. We had Chris Mitchum, we had Telly Savalas, Stefan Audran, Helmut Berger. We had an amazing cast. And then there was this shot that we had to do in this sanitarium asylum, really, because my character had gone a bit nutty by that point. And then Jess said, right, he said, we're going to do these, you know, these shots. And I thought, okay, what sort of shots are you going to do, Jess? I was wearing this, you know, like a straitjacket sort of thing. I said, what sort of shots? He said, we're going to kind of, you know, do low angles and we're going to come up. I said, what do you mean low angles? He said, we're going to kind of creep up your leg. And I said, oh, okay, all right, and that's fine. Can you just give me 10 minutes? So I thought, okay, he's going to, I'm prepared for it. So I nipped in the other room, put my two Bridget Joneses on, and double bits up the top. I thought, right, okay. And this is what I did, went back, and he'd spoken to the other actor, the wonderful actor who was playing with me, German actor.
Anton Diffrin, was it?
No, not Anton. No, it wasn't Anton. It was the one that had to play that was meant to rape my character in this.
Wasn't Klaus Kinski, was it?
No, it wasn't Klaus.
He was the unnamed actor who was in Dr. Jekyll's Women.
Oh, okay.
He had no eyebrows, did he?
Wonderful actor. He was wonderful, but Jess had had a quick word with him, and I didn't know. He said, I want this to look as realistic as possible, so you go for it. He said to the actor, and it was kind of unrehearsed, because I'm not a great rehearsal girl. I prefer to see kind of what happens more organically. So then the actor, and then I suddenly realised that, okay, so this is between him and I. We're kind of fighting for this now. So we did the shot, and it was quite kind of brutal.
Yes.
And nothing happened at the end except the actor started to cry. He said, I'm so sorry. He said, I'm so sorry. He said, Jess wanted me to make it look as realistic, and I didn't hurt you. I said, no, did I hurt you? Because I was fighting back. He said, no. So Jess was an interesting character, but I think as a director I found him really good. I did, and I think he says that was one of his best projects. So, anyway.
Okay, everybody. I've got a few announcements in a moment, but first of all, I would like you all to put your hands together and thank Kate.
And to you, I would say, to the wonderful audience.
Thank you. You're welcome. So, Ken and Caroline, in a few moments, will be in the corner doing some signings for you, and you can have your photo. Then we get the film on. But obviously, more importantly, you'll be one-to-one with these people. I don't know if you quickly would like to get a drink or anything in between.
No,
okay, all right.
In between, after the autographs and before the film, we're going to go upstairs and do something out there.